if you're a medium or you have mediumship gifts or you know of anyone that has these gifts, when they come to the surface, when they become latent, it is time to organize them. It's time to develop them. Otherwise, it will rule you. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, Sheetal Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Sheetal Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. Today, I wanted to talk to you about mediumship. Over the Christmas holidays, I've been doing a lot of introspection and a lot of thinking about this gift that I have. And I know when it started, I was just given birth to my second child. So it was about 15 years ago. We just turned 15 in December. And I was watching a Teresa Caputo show, Long Island Medium. And I remember that she was doing a reading for someone that gave them immense relief. They had been in a deep grief, and the things that had come out in the reading that no one could know, there was so much support and healing. And I could even see the person's energy when they came in versus when the end of the reading was. And I remember crying and thinking, wow, what an amazing gift to have, to give someone that gift of relief from their grief, to know that their loved one is still alive, that consciousness still transcends, your body. I mean, I think it's so foolish for us to think that our intelligence and consciousness is only related to our brain and body. Like it just seems so amateur, caveman-ish, to think that we don't continue on. And that we do. I mean, I grew up with knowing that. I think I knew that from the womb, it feels like. And it's something that is, permeates my culture, to be fair. I am East Indian and I'm Hindu by religion. And so we have, the soul reincarnates and continues to go through its evolutionary journey. It's something that I kind of just grew up knowing as well, and reinforced by the beliefs of the people around me. So it's not foreign to me to, think that there's spirits here. I grew up knowing that there's spirits around us. And in that, Long Island episode, I remember turning it off and having to leave to go pick up my aunt. And when we were picking up my aunt, I had the first experience with spirit after that. And I remember thinking, is this real? Like, am I just imagining a show in my mind? Because I thought, wouldn't it be so great to have a gift that way? Because in my heart, I always felt like I wanted to help people. My whole life, I just want to help people and want to help people feel good, to know their worth, to step into their gifts. I've just always done that in everything I have ever done. When you look to your soul's purpose, you will see that it is intertwined. It laces through, almost weaves through every experience of your life, but you don't realize it's your purpose. But when you look back, you can see the ways that you've helped others or the things that you love to do. There's purpose there. And it's not just the thing that you do. I had a client who was an ice capades dancer and had gotten on with the troupe very early on in her life. And she then met the love of her life and dropped out of the troupe and started her own life and career in the US. and she was going on to her next, major life purpose thing. So her first one was the ice capades. The second was she was trying to decide what it was. Maybe it was a TV show, maybe it was a business. She was really in the discovery, kind of mode, or part of the cycle, if you will. And when she was deciding, what was her next step, it was interesting because she thought the ice capades was her purpose, but really it was entertaining, and she loved helping children. Even though she decided to never have children herself, she loved helping children to see that the magic still exists in the world. And so her purpose started to kind of come to the surface as we started to talk about that. I had a conversation with another client who said to me she really hates the talk of purpose and soul purpose, because it feels like, it's this unobtainable thing, or you do the thing and then what. And I said, well, there was definitely a huge misunderstanding there, because every soul incarnates with a purpose, and sometimes that purpose is for itself, right, to just evolve itself and learn about the world and itself, and that's always there, that is always a component of it. But sometimes it's about helping others in some way. And that's why I love, astrology and human design, because you can see that. In human design, it's called your incarnation cross. And in astrology, it's the nodes of the moon combined with a few other things. So we can sort of see that these clues are in these developmental tools, that help us to understand ourselves. And then the clues are also throughout our life, right? Everything that you do. And it's not a one or done, it is a continual evolution of the soul. One of the things I learned about when I created a group called Discovering Your Soul Led Purpose, and I started to do more research and go back through all my classes, and learned there was a huge epiphany, is that your purpose is connected to your childhood trauma. So, whatever you experienced in your life at an early age, regardless of how big or small the T is in your trauma, however you experienced it, you experienced something, because you came onto this planet with parents that are not perfect, a soul that was learning, and people, children, teachers, neighbors, you name it. There is a number of factors in your life that have come in to teach you something. So as idyllic that your life could be, and perfect as it might have been, which is wonderful. Or if it's not, then that's divinely perfect as well. There was something there to learn. And I'll say, my purpose has always been to help people feel like they belong. Because one of the things I felt at a very early age is that I didn't belong, right? I'm first generation Canadian. My parents are immigrants. We lived in a part of Edmonton, which is where I grew up, that was not East Indian predominantly. It was multicultural over here. And I grew up with friends that were not East Indian. I mean, yes, we had them as family friends and things, but I really didn't grow up inside the community or inside the culture. So I really resonated more with feeling like I was Caucasian. Right. I listened to heavy metal. You saw me in high school. I dressed like a goth. Like I was a skater. I definitely, like, if you saw me then and now, you'd be like, no way, that's Sheetal. I was really just trying to fit in, I think. And it wasn't until I got to university that I said, wait, I want to be employable. I like dressing up. I like, being a high powered career woman. And I don't want someone to pigeonhole me because I'm dressing the way that the music I listen to, is like, why do I need to dress like that? I don't need to. And as a Scorpio rising, I really love that you can't really tell all the things about me when you see me. There's some mysteriousness underneath, there's something kind of secretive, and then when you get to know me, of course, I'm a freaking open book. Like, I'll tell you everything. But that was kind of my big aha. I was 18, 19. I remember being at university. I was in Hub Mall, which is sort of the mall where there's kids studying in there, there's shops in there, and then there's also residents above. And I remember being in there and with my big jeans, corduroys. They were corduroys, big skater corduroys, and my big army boots, and like layer upon layer upon layer of t-shirts and shirts and everything, and my hair. I think it was very straight at that time, and very dark makeup, black lipstick. And I remember thinking, I don't think I want everyone to know everything about me by me dressing my genre. I can have that Metallica is my favorite band, but that doesn't have to be my identity, right? It's just an FYI. I do love like top 40, Britney Spears, dance music, Metallica, rock, heavy metal. I have a very eclectic mix on my not Spotify, on my iTunes. I love lots of different music, and it really depends on my mood. And as I started to get more into spirituality later in my life, I realized music has such an impact on your mood. So I'm very aware of the type of music I listen to, and then even just aware of what I'm being drawn to. That gives me some clues as to my internal environment or what's happening for me too. So just an FYI, think about the type of music you listen to and when. Right when you're down, you're probably not listening to Britney. You're probably listening to something that's a little bit more mellow or speaks to your heart or makes you cry, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So going back to my purpose is when I turned off the TV listening to Long Island Medium, and I went to go pick up my aunt, and she was coming up from Texas, and they had originally lived in Calgary, so it was quite close. For those of you who don't know, about 3 hour drive down the road from my city to that city, and her and my uncle had immigrated here from India, and they had a wonderful life down there. They were very much in love. They were super cute. They had adult sons who now live in Texas. They're wonderful people, and her husband died suddenly, and so at that point, she said, "You know what? I'm here for a reason. I'm still here. So I've got things to do and lessons to learn. And I'm going to move to Texas, and I'm going to still be employed down there." So she did apply for her visa and everything. And she was a daycare worker when she came to Canada. And she went down there to kind of work. She lived in her own apartment, but then also to grow up with the grandkids and her own kids and stuff. And so she'd come up to Canada and visit every so often. And so we were going to pick her up from the bus depot, and my mom was with me, and she was talking about this lady on the bus did Reiki on her, and she'd never heard of such a thing. And my mom's like, "Oh, what is this Reiki?" And I was like, "Well, it's an energy thing. They heal through the energy." And she was very intrigued. My aunt, she wanted to know more about it. She said, "Do you have an iPad? Mine is dead." And so I said, "Yeah, sure, you can use my iPad." Now, my parents at this time were not tech savvy in any way, like not at all. And so my aunt turned on the iPad and navigated it super easy. My mom was like, "Oh, you're so good on that." And I was like, "Wow, you are really good on that." And then all of a sudden, my uncle appeared behind her, and he said, "Isn't she smart? And she's beautiful too." Or "Isn't she beautiful and she's smart too?" Something like that. Those two, I sometimes get them mixed up in the story. And I was like, wow, those are not my words. Like, my aunt is, a beautiful woman. Yeah, okay, in her 70s, whatever. But I don't know if I would like say that out loud. But I saw him, and I saw him stand behind her almost like a ghost. And I saw him say that. I heard him say that, and then he was gone. And I was like, okay, what's this about? Right? Like, am I just imagining this? Because I had met my uncle, I'd known him before, it's fine. So I kind of just like left it because I thought it was a figment of my imagination, didn't think anything of it. My aunt figured it out. She got some contacts for Reiki in Texas, and away they went. Dropped them back off at my parents' house. That's where she was staying. The next day I was over there for tea. Before I went over for tea, though, that night I called my mom and I told her what happened. And my mom's like, "You should tell auntie." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, is it real? Is it a figment of imagination?" She's like, "You'll only know if you talk to her." And I'm like, "Meh, like, I don't know. It's fine." So the next day I was over there for tea. And, if you tell anybody, East Indian family, anything, you're just going to be outed. Like, people have a hard time. Not to say that I told my mom to keep a secret, but, she outed me pretty quickly. I went over there for tea, and I was like, "Tell auntie what you told me." And I was like, "Oh, I did not really want to talk about it, but here we are." So I said, "Oh, well, auntie, I think I saw uncle behind you, and I thought I heard him say, you're beautiful and you're smart too." and she started to cry. Right? She just had tears that were kind of coming down from her. Beautiful, like just like it wasn't like, oh, not that there's anything wrong with that, but just the tears coming down. And she said, he told me I was beautiful every day that we were married, every day of our life, which is quite unusual. I don't think East Indian couples say that to each other. I've never really heard my parents say that to each other, or, my grandparents or any other East Indian couples that I know. I don't think they ever really kind of like comment like that. And there's no way I would know that. I've never seen him say that or anything too. So she told me that. And I said, what about the smart too? That's like, not to say that you're not smart, Auntie, but like, you've been a daycare worker ever since you've come to Canada. Like, that's all I know you for. And my mom's like, don't you know that Auntie actually was, I think she worked for like the astrophysicist. She was an astrophysicist in India. Like, she's actually a very um like prominent scientist apparently in India. I did not know at all. Right? She's so good with kids. She's such a lovely person. Like, I mean, not that I would ever think of her as this astrophysicist or like someone who would be able to teach in physics, because my uncle taught in physics at the University of Calgary. And I mean, that's how they met, which I had no idea. And I was like, "What? Really? You're like that smart?" She goes, "Yeah, but when I came here, I wanted to work with kids because I love children so much." So she had a kind of a second life, if you will, when she came to Canada. And I had no idea, right? But again, I was like, well, is this true? Could I have kind of picked up on that and someone had said something and subconsciously I just put that in there? It's possible. So I was like, whatever. I didn't think much of it. And then I didn't hear anything else. Nothing else was really weird or strange happening. And then I went back to work. And I've told this on one of the podcasts already, but I went back to work. I was on maternity leave. And when I went back, we had this big food service trade show that we'd put on in Toronto. And two of my clients from here, Edmonton, flew with me. And the motivational speaker, his dad came through and he came to me and said, you need to tell my son a message. And I was like, I don't know who you think I am, but this is not what I do. I'm a sales rep in the food industry. And it was, of course, that there's another episode that I tell that whole story too. I'll link that in the show notes. And you can see that episode and go back to hear that whole story. But that was when it was the first time that I channeled for someone I did not know. And I sort of say to mediums, like when you're a medium, you have the ability in your soul. You have a soul-led purpose to help people heal through this gift. And it will become latent. It will come to the surface when it's ready to be acknowledged, when it's ready to be developed. Right. And so up till that point, I mean, I saw spirit even when I was little, but I put it away at the age of 9 because I really just wanted to fit in and I didn't want to do anything with that gift. And as a 9-year-old, what am I going to do? Go up to people and be like, I see your grandmother. You want to talk to her? Like, that's not for me. That was not my goal at that time. And my own soul knew that. So I actually kind of shut the door on it and said, no more. I'm going to put this away for now. And then it came back after I had children. And I was talking to a fellow medium recently about that because she's like, my gift came in after I had kids as well. And she goes, why do you think that is? And I said, I 100% know why, because you need to have your foundation set for you then to develop this gift. If I was trying to have kids and be a stay at home mom and working my job and all the things, there's no way I would have had bandwidth to develop this gift. I was not in a place for that, nor I was still busy laying the foundations of my life, which my second child was that. We wanted to have 2 kids, and that was it. And so after that child, it literally like on maternity leave, it started to come in. So I was like, okay, we don't have time. It's time to go, girl. It's time to go. So when I read for my second spirit that was not from my family, I knew then that there was something more here. Right. Because I'm like, well, it's my family. Because we have the connection to our own loved ones in spirit. You will have the ability to feel your own loved one. So if you've lost someone, someone has transitioned to the other side. They're not lost. They're still here with you. I hate using that term. It's actually that they've just transitioned to spirit. They are still with you. And even that goes for miscarriages, that goes for people who you knew in childhood, that even goes for grandparents that you never met. Like that love is still there. I always laugh when I read for people and I said, "Oh, I have a grandfather stepping forward." Oh, like he died like 40 years ago. It's like, yeah, he stopped loving you 40 years ago, eh? When he died, like that was it. He can't come now. And they're like, what? They don't stop. Time does not exist in spirit. Time is a construct of the 3D. And so in the 3D, we need time and we need space as limiting forces to make sure that we are moving forward, right? If you had all the time in the world, would you be going? Would you get going on things? No. You'd be like, next year I'll do the thing. No, you don't have time. You don't know. We're all marching forward to that last breath, and no one knows when that time is going to be. So when you do take that last breath, you'll step into the world of energy, and that's it. That'll be it. You'll be connected to all the people in this life that you loved, and you are now in a timeless place, right? So you're watching time move forward, and that's why we say time is actually the construct. All time is now. So time is a very different aspect in spirit than it is for us here. It's a limiting factor for us there. Here in spirit, time doesn't exist. So they can't tell you how many years it's going to be or how long it is before you take your last breath. They don't actually know. They just know the time is coming soon because they can feel your vitality transitioning to spirit. That's what I can tell as a medium. So I recently was supporting someone who is family members were going through some hard times, and actually two other clients who have people who are transitioning to spirit. So I can feel when your energy is transitioning to spirit, when your vitality is not very strong, and so that you're becoming more energy and less physicality. So your body starts to break down because that energy isn't there to keep everything moving properly. The field that is organizing your cells is not as strong because it is transitioning to this other plane of existence. So when I can feel that, I can feel when your vitality is low, or I can feel when your vitality is strong. So I can tell when a spirit's not ready to transition yet, or I can tell when a spirit is about to transition. So, and again, we always have free will, right? So the mind can be like, I'm not ready to go. I need to hear from somebody. I cannot yet move on to the next thing. And they might be holding on for a while, but they only have a window of opportunity to pass. So as a medium, I've done a lot of work in this. I've learned from a lot of mediums. I've done a lot of work in the psychology, not psychology. The word is the I can see it, philosophy, the philosophy of mediumship as it has been created through the spiritualist tradition. And I've worked with a lot of teachers over the years to understand these dynamics. And it is interesting because it feels like it comes second nature to me now because I live in this world, and it is something that I sometimes take it for granted that people know this because it's not common knowledge for everyone. I literally was going to make this episode on the 5 things that people don't know about mediumship. And I just wanted to kind of organize my thoughts. And I thought I'd use Chat GPT. And I put it in, tell me 5 things that people don't know about mediumship. And everything it spit out was a lie. It actually was not true. And I thought, I need to do an episode on that for sure. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up on the next Story of Spirit episode. But for this one, I really just wanted to talk about purpose and mission because it was when I started to develop my gifts. Because if you're a medium or you have mediumship gifts or you know of anyone that has these gifts, when they come to the surface, when they become latent, it is time to organize them. It's time to develop them. Otherwise, it will rule you, right? That's when you can't go out in public. That's when people, they're just seeing spirit everywhere. They're being woken up in the night. They feel like there's just no control over their gift because their gift is controlling them. So it's time to control it. But in everyone has the ability, everyone is intuitive, right? We are energetic beings having this human experience. So we all have the ability to pick up on energy in our environments and pick up on energy of other people. So we can feel when someone's having a bad day or someone's looking at you across the room and you turn around and you're like, feel that. You can feel if someone's going to call you and then they do and you're like, oh my God, I was thinking about you. Or you have a dream about somebody and then you run into them the next day. These are all energetic pieces of living in an energetic world. This is normal. This is part of being an energetic person. You are born intuitive, but you can be trained out of your intuition if you grew up in a home that didn't value that, or that was very traumatic, or emotions feel hard for you for whatever reason. Then being in the seat of the soul, because your soul speaks to you in emotions, can be very difficult. So if that's you, know that your intuition is there underneath, and intuition development is actually one of the most healing acts you can do for yourself. And not everyone is born with the ability to be a medium. So we all have the ability to feel our own loved ones in spirit, right? I can feel my own loved ones because their vibration is known to you, right? You know what your grandmother feels like, and her love is tethered you for life. So I only ever met my grandmother, my dad's mom, my paternal grandmother, once in life. We went to India. I spent a few days with her. Lovely woman. I can still tell you how she feels. I used to braid her hair. We'd chuck peas together. She didn't speak any English, lick of English at all. I only spoke English, right? I was 5 years old at the time, I think 5, 3, something like that. I was really young. And her resonance, her energy still with me. I can still feel her. She comes to my mediumship classes all the time, right? Loveliest, softest, kindest woman you'll ever meet. And that resonance from her, she passed into spirit, I think when I was in my teens, late teens or so. Again, she was in India, I was in Canada. And lovely woman. And I can still feel her energy. So that is something all of us can feel. We can feel our own loved one's energy in spirit because we are tethered to them by love. So when they come around, you might not be aware that it's them. We might get the shivers, or they might try to tell you they're there by, moving something, or, you feel a breeze when there should be no breeze there, or you smell their perfume when you're like, what? I don't understand why I can smell their perfume. There's all these little ways that they're going to show you that they're there. And that's normal too, right? That's normal. We can all feel each other's, like, we can feel our own loved ones. But when you start to feel the loved ones of other people, that is when you have a mediumship gift that is coming to the surface. Right. And it might be light at the beginning. It might be very strong at the beginning. Whatever it is, it'll be there, and it'll tell you louder and louder and louder that it's time to develop it. And if you don't listen, it's going to get louder and life is going to become more unmanageable because you don't know what this is. And it starts to take up so much space in your life that everything else feels hard. So when my gifts started to come up, I knew I had to develop it. I knew I need to figure what this is. I thought there's a large possibility I could be mentally unstable. Truly. I just wanted to talk to somebody that said, you need to go to a psychologist because this is a mental delusion. I really thought that was a possibility. I was open to the possibility of that. And when I but it was interesting because I went to get my eyes checked because I was starting to see, auras. Again, lots of energy around people. And he's like, your eyes are normal. And it's like, oh, it's interesting. I see auras. And he's like, oh, like what? And I said, well, like right around you, I see this like orange around you. But it tells me that this and this and this. And he's like, oh, no, that's not your eyes. That's not actually your eyes. I was like, oh, okay, that's energy. He's like, you're the first psychic I've ever had to look at your eyes for. I said, yeah, that makes sense. Cause he asked me a bunch of other questions and tested my eyes in other ways, and I was fine. So it's not an eye issue. It was an energy thing. And then I started to get really intense headaches at that time too, because again, I'm not managing the energy. So I am a constant open vortex of energy. And so I got tested for migraines and my brain and all the things. And I was in to see a neurologist. And I remember her saying, you're normal. Nothing's wrong with your brain. Nothing is wrong. You could have migraines. If the migraines become more incessant and Advil and Tylenol don't help, please come back and we'll look at some stronger medication. And I remember thinking, that's not what I need. That's totally not it. And as I left and I started to develop my gifts, my headaches went away. I'd never had anxiety in my life, and I was starting to have panic attacks because I could feel something was around me, but I didn't know what it was. Right. And as soon as I started to develop my gifts and meditation and discipline, gone. Never. I never had anxiety in my life up till then either. My best friend at the time had anxiety. And so I knew what that looked like. And I was like, oh my God, I know what this is because I've seen her go through it. And this is not that, you know? So a lot of times the students that come in to develop their abilities with me, they notice that their anxiety goes away. They notice that their life gets better. They notice that as they develop their gifts, that their quality of life becomes so much happier. Right now, not all anxiety is spirit. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. And sometimes anti anxiety medicine is needed. So I'll say that. So if you're seeing spirit, if you are having these experiences, it's time to develop your abilities. And there's a path to that, really understanding energy and boundaries and all of that. And I find for me, my mediumship gifts give me energy. Like I don't feel drained by them. I have very strong boundaries. I can travel on planes, I can be in concerts. I'm not bothered by spirits. I have a great night's sleep. Spirit is not allowed to bother me at night. I have very strong boundaries and policies in place with my spirit team. So, yeah, you can create a wonderful life even if you have this gift. And I'll talk about it on a coming episode coming up, the next Story of Spirit episode, on the ways that you can use your mediumship because it's not just for readings. There's actually many ways that you can use your mediumship abilities to help others. And that was something that I had to discover over my years of growth as well, because my teachers just didn't know. They were like, well, this is what I do. And I was like, wait, but there are other mediums in the world doing other things with their gifts. And I started to really go on a journey of discovering what that could be and then helping people with their gifts. So if you are wanting to develop your gifts, if you feel like your intuition is something you really want to make stronger, message me. Message me on social media, message me through my email, wherever you find my connections, and let me know. And I'll put you on the wait list. I do have an Intuition 101 class that goes to a 201 class, that goes to a 301, and a developmental mediumship circle that I run as well. So if that's something you're interested in, let's go. What are we waiting for? I have a wonderful circle, a community of amazing intuitives and mediums around me. I believe in community over competition. And there is so many people in this world that need you and need your gifts. And it's time to develop them if this resonates with you. So thanks for being here. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.sheetalstory.com and follow us on Instagram at sheetalstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is Sheetal Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legal ease that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of Sheetal Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.